This is CNBC Reports. Get the real deal with Dennis Neal.
It is a sad and somber day for my fledgling Hero of Capitalism award, which I've been bestowing nightly for a few weeks now. I say sad day because tonight I got to rescind the Hero Award I had just given to somebody a week ago. A new CEO at a much reviled company. A guy I praise as outspoken and refreshingly blunt. A guy who sticks up for his people and stands up to politicians. My Hero of Capitalism the other night was Robert Benmosche, chief of the government bailout albatross known as AIG. But now, alas, I hereby rescind, retract, and renege on that hero assignment because news broke today that Benmosche is miffed that he can't use AIG's corporate jet for personal travel. Personal travel. Now, I am a defender of Wall Street, and I think way too much static has been raised over complaints about private jets at public companies. But if a company wants to give its CEO a perk like that for the company and personal travel, go for it. But when a firm like AIG fails at risk management, almost brings down the financial system, and sucks up $180 billion in federal bailout cash and barely clings to life, then maybe you should sell the company jet altogether and fly business class, and you most definitely don't get a private jet for personal purposes. I cannot believe the AIG chief had the temerity and tone deafness to even bring it up. What the hell were you thinking, sir? This isn't the time. Shame on you. Let's bring in some other voices on this whole jet thing. I mean, AIG pays Benmosche an annual salary of $7 million. His predecessor, Edward Liddy, was working for just $1 a year and hoping to make it up if the stock ever rebounded. Let's debate it with Jack Burkman and Frank Glassner. Frank, what do you think about the corporate jet thing here, and what do you think about the latest move at AIG?
Well, you know something, it certainly flies in the face of conventional wisdom. You know, Robert Benmosche is a great CEO. He's established a real name for himself. And honestly, his work, as well as the work of the other guys running these bailout diversified financials, that work cut out for him, and those guys are going to earn every single cent that they make. But as far as, you know, affinity benefits like corporate jets or automobiles or things like that, one really has to wonder what is going through their minds when they say, I want to come to the government and get a multi-billion-dollar bailout, and then at the same time not want to set the example and walk the talk.
What do you say, Jack Burkman?
That's the issue. The issue is a joke. Planes are small things. These are tiny expenses. They're not. This is hardly even worthy of discussion. AIG.
Oh, this is not a tiny expense at all. This is something that could add. This is something that could add up to be a lot of money.
AIG failed because of massive gambling. It didn't fail because of use of corporate jets.
He's right about that.
Look,
Jack.
I don't
If
believe that the federal government should ever be involved in this. The federal government should never have bailed out AIG.
Never, Jack. I mean, wait a minute, Jack Burkman. I mean, given the bailout, shouldn't, at this point, shouldn't AIG be like pushing back? Shouldn't the CEO be willing to give up personal travel on the corporate jet?
I don't
when
think.
You got government money?
Look, if somebody is going to go to the bank and ask for a big loan, and you're going to go to the bank and say, hey, I'm broke, and I want a couple $1 million, you're certainly not going to take that couple $1 million and drive up in a Ferrari.
Here's the issue.
Because it's going to upset your banker.
The Treasury Department, Treasury should not be using TARP as an excuse to hyper-regulate companies. We're reaching a point. I would have never done TARP. I would have never done what Bernanke did in terms of giving money to AIG. But we are where we are. If the government has to let these companies run themselves. AIG failed because it became a house of bookies that was doing, they call it credit default swaps. They could have been betting on the New England Patriots and the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's why
I'm sure
they failed.
There's a swap for that. Let me just try to delineate something here. Hey, Frank, here's the thing. Do you have a problem, Frank, when the CEO of a company that is not a government bailout company, when he uses the corporate jet for private purposes? Because I think that's a perk, and if the board wants to give it to him, fine, let him.
Look, if the company is a healthy company, there are certainly reasons for, you know, if the aircraft is over half full and, you know, the CEO or the CEO's family or any other executive's family is traveling with them and that aircraft's being used for business use primarily, then that's entirely fine. But what we're talking about here is not how AIG got itself into the bind or any of these other financial companies. This is just about setting
Frank,
the example.
Where you're wrong, where I think you're wrong is the CEO is kind of like a president in that you can't make an appropriate division between personal and corporate, and particularly with something like travel. It would be one thing if he said, I want to use corporate funds for my daughter's anniversary party, but this is travel. A CEO has to be anywhere at any time. Airplanes are stupid issues. They're symbolic issues that people focus
it's not,
on.
it's not a stupid issue if it's for business use, for personal use. And the example is just this. Look, I've got 6.5-year-old twin boys, Pierce and Joe. If they come to me and they've been bad boys, I'm certainly not going to give them an ice cream cone, and they're certainly not going to ask their dad for it. And on the other hand, we shouldn't be using corporate jets for personal use
Jack Burkman, if I may just interject here. Jack, notice, see, again, with the parental finger-wagging attitude, you know, likening corporate chieftains to 6-year-old twin boys.
Everything, Dennis, is becoming an excuse for the federal government to get its claws into more and more and more. Now, this is why, though, in fairness, I'm consistent. I opposed TARP. When Bernanke, on this very air in October, when Bernanke came out that Monday morning with $80 billion for AIG, I fought it. And these were the kinds of things I think that could have been reasonably foreseen. We're only in this fix because the federal government got involved with Wall Street.
Got to bail, guys. Thank you very much, Jack and Frank, for being with us tonight. Nice job. And time.